we have already covered it, no? So that's why I don't want to record it. Okay, now so the same command will be running. So you guys able to see it, right?
No.
Haven't I shared? Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, I thought like I shared it. Okay. Now, are you guys able to see?
Yes.
Yeah. So now it entered everything in a capital because we are trying with shift. Okay, shift, and then we are typing the value. Okay. For example, consider like I have a link. Okay. Now, how to open it in a new page? Is it possible? New window basically. Nowadays, Chrome and Firefox actually opens in a new tab recently. Okay. But if you want to open in a new window, how to do it?
Control click will open it.
Yes. Yes. So normally you need to mix some of the concepts. Okay, the earlier classes and these classes, so that you will get a complete scenario. Okay. So okay, consider like ignore about the action classes. So is there any other way? Okay, for example, normally people tend to ask like how many ways are there to click. Okay, have you heard about these questions? Like, so what are the different ways to click a button or something?
Yeah, one is normal click, other one is JavaScript click. We can use browser actions class also to click.
Okay.
And
JavaScript is
okay. JavaScript, yeah. Normal click, JavaScript click, and action click. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is one more way you can do is like, shall we press enter on a button so that it will consider as entered?
Yes.
So how will you do it?
We need to we need to press tab until that element is highlighted, and then press enter.
Okay. So rather than, if you can go on tabs, okay, but will it be that much efficient, or will it be that much stable?
No.
All right. So what you can do is like you find the element on the send keys. You can pass the enter.
Okay.
Okay, it will find the element and it will send the keys of enter. So what happens is like it will be considered as click only. Okay. So this is how we can handle the normal things. So today we'll handle a JSON file.
Okay.
Okay.
So you are telling me that opening a new window.
Right. So that one is also the same way. Control, click it.
Okay.
I actually said right only. Okay.
Okay.
So, but in case of when you have a context click option in Protractor, it's not there. But in Selenium, if you have a context click option on that element, you have to right click, and you know it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like here you cannot inspect or perform anything on the right click option.
Right click option. Yeah.
Okay. So what you have to do is you have to use the same send keys. Okay.
Okay.
Down, 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 and then enter. Okay.
Okay.
No, sorry, not send keys. Actually, key up, key down. 1 minute. Yeah, actually, send keys. You have to use a protractor, key dot down. Something like arrow down. Okay. Few times you have to go down, and then you have to pass enter again. Okay, with the send
Okay.
keys. Otherwise, you will have the short links on the option, something like press U or C or something like that. So you can pass directly that particular letter.
Okay.
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 So that's all about action class. Today we'll see this JSON files. Okay. So we will not be learning about XML files. So because it is something like a very outdated format. When people start writing the XML files, it becomes very heavier. So because of that purpose, people started avoiding XML files and then started using properties file. Okay.
Okay.
Properties is something like one side a property and the other side is property value. Okay. With respect to Java, it will called as a properties file. Okay. But what happened is like when we have a properties file, it also, it did not support much of, multiple systems.
Okay.
Something like now we have Windows, and if you are going for Linux, you have a clash with the properties file. So they thought to have a very common file which can be used fluidly across the platforms. So they came up with this concept called JSON files. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, JSON file is something like everything in the JSON file is a key and a pair. For example, it will look something like this one. Okay, with the comma, they will separate the new value. Okay, whether you separate comma or a new, what do you call, new line. Okay, it will do the same work, but it is suggest to use comma. Okay. Okay, first we will give the property and then property value. The only thing is like we have to give it in a double quote.
Okay.
Okay, all the values. So it is very simple to read. Okay, that is the main purpose of it. Any person reads, whoever reads it, they can understand it the moment they read it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a simple one. You can have a simple key and then a value. Sometimes what happens is like this value itself will be another
JSON.
another JSON file,
Yeah.
kind of sub JSON, something like, for example, website, and it may start like this one, something like again a name, and then it will go like structure.tech, comma, age, 1 year, something like that. It goes. Okay, so it may go endlessly nested. Okay, for example, let's consider simple file. Okay, name, and we'll consider password. As I said, we have to have it in a double quote. Okay, so this is a simple file. We can store it anywhere in the files. Okay, so normally where do we store the files in a framework? Anywhere. Okay, anywhere we can store it, but all the files should be present at the same location. That will be useful. And also when you are writing a framework, make sure that your files store inside your framework. Okay, PMU is your top level folder here in this one. Okay, for the framework. So you make sure that some folder inside this folder containing the files. For example, I'm going to create not a file, but I want to create a folder. Folder something like files, or you can say like data files. Okay, so both ways it's okay. Now again you have to create a file inside the folder called something like JSON data, for example, dot JSON. Okay, that's it. So this is how we create a JSON format. Okay, sometimes we might need to validate the format sometimes. Okay, something like that. Okay, JSON. Sometimes what happens is like if it is not a valid JSON, then we might have an issue for reading purpose. Okay, so now let's read it. Let's read the file first, and then we'll try to write the file. So let's go to a spec file and create a new spec. JSON spec.js. Sorry, we are working with TS. I forgot it. Okay, JSON spec.ts, and let's copy some of the file. Okay, now let's read it and then try to enter the same value into the Google. Okay, so the JSON file is here, and get the relative path for it. Okay, so it comes from a POM from the folder structure. Now just see, like, from the protractor conf.ts, we have to give the file name. Okay, here let's go and see, like, where is our JS POM. So POM file is here, and inside the POM we have a protractor conf. Okay, now what we want is we want to have files. Okay, files folder somewhere will be somewhere here. Okay, at the same time the files folder is not present in the POM or JS files location, but it is present outside the JS. Okay, so it will be present with respect to a TS files rather than a JS files. Okay, now this is our file, so we have to come out of this POM. Okay, and then we have to come out of our JS POM, and then we have to read the file. Okay, so for a moment's sake, I'll just read complete path. Okay, so this is going to be our complete path for the JSON file. For reading any JSON file, we need to have FS, okay, module. But before going for a FS module, let's write a normal way of using, where JS equal to 2 minutes, guys. I will come. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. Guys, I'm back.
Okay.
Loka, are you there?
Yes, Pawan.
Okay.
I'm there.
So normally what we do is we use a require. Okay. Now we are working with respect to TS files, right? So we are using import. Okay. This is the keyword normally to import any files. Okay. When we are using TypeScript. But the same thing, if I go into JS files, okay, it will be altogether a different thing. For example, let's go into cookie set. Here you can see keyword called require. Okay, so basically this is nothing but your import statement in JavaScript, require. Okay, so the same thing we can use in our TypeScript also, require, and then provide the path of that particular file. Okay, now just add double slashes to ignore the escape sequence. So just I want to use it before cell case. Now what I'll do is like what I can do is it will be stored as a map. Now we have two keys, name and password, and two values, one value for name and another value for password. Okay, so when you want to read anything from a map, what we have to provide is a key. Okay, so the key will be provided as JS of name. Okay, in this format you can provide, and you can provide that same thing into your send case. So any doubt, guys?
No problem.
It's basically a simple require. We are just importing that file, nothing else. Okay. So let's execute it. Okay. We have to change the spec file. Protractor conf. Instead of a mouse action, we need JSON spec. So just make sure you are running the compilation in the background. Okay, so what's the default time for connecting Selenium server?
30 seconds.
Nope.
15 seconds.
Nope. 10 seconds. Yeah, by default it will be 10 seconds. So it entered. Okay. So this is the first way and a very simple way
Okay.
for reading this particular data. So we were trying with a name. So we got the name value. Okay. So this one we can use it, but most of the people will use this one, and some people with respect to developers will not use this format. They will use the one more format called EFS format. Okay, which is something like file system reading. Okay, for example, let's bring fs. Okay, just for a moment's sake, I typed that one. Okay, don't take that much because I want to import the fs. Okay, I'm typing some method name from the fs. Now we have two different ways. Okay, for any, not only this file. Okay, for any file reading operations, we have two kinds of operations. One is sync, and second one is async. Okay, sync means till it reads the file, it will not leave the control. Okay, but in case of async, the moment it starts the operation, then it will move on to the next operations. It will not wait for till the protractor or JavaScript reads the complete file. Okay, that is async. And sync is it will wait till the time it completes the reading. Okay.
Okay.
So the sync will contain a sync keyword along with whenever you go, wherever you go, but async will not have any such kind of keywords. So now we have imported our fs model. Now we have to import a method called read file sync. Read file sync. Okay, not only this file, we can use it along with any file. Moment sake, I will go back. Just I want to copy the path. Okay, now we are reading this particular file, data.json. Okay, JSON file we are reading, but we have to store this particular value. Okay, basically this comes as a string. We have to store this string in some place. So for that purpose, we will be using some variable, something like a random variable. Sync values. Okay, now it is remaining is similar. Okay, you were using JS, right, previously. Now you can directly use name. Sorry, the fsync along with the name. Okay, so how you are going to access is never going to change. Okay, let's rerun it, and this time let's change the value to something else called test user. Clear the screen, run it. Did not work because we were trying just blindly. Okay, so we have to parse this particular raw data into a string format, but earlier as it is we have imported it, because of which it was working with a require. But when we are reading with this file system, we have to parse this particular content raw data into a string, okay, or into a JSON, whatever the format we want to read. Okay, we will be reading this format into a JSON. So for that purpose, we will be using JSON, everything in capital, dot parse. Okay, so the parse is something like, from the string you will be changing that string value into something called a JSON, or you can also call it as a map. Okay, the other one is a stringify. Okay, if the value is in the form of a JSON or in the form of a map, then if you want to convert that value into a string, then we will be using stringify. Okay, for while writing we will be using stringify, while reading we will be using parse. Parse fsync. Okay, but again we have to store this data. We have to store this raw data. says like string. Okay. I hope it should work, but somehow we are getting the issue. Okay, for example, variant ABC, it works fine. Okay, for a moment's sake, I'll read it as a file itself. Okay.
Pawan, I just check your code. You are using like fs.real file.
Yes. I thought like I have used it. Not actually, we do not have to use it.
Okay, that's fine. You imported one more line. You have imported the require command fs, and after that you have used.
Yeah. Actually, read file sync is enough for it. Okay, but somehow it's not working. So let's, as of now, ignore importing. Okay, let's go with require. Okay, so it will be like require fs, and then let's store this particular thing into some variable called fs, and now use fs dot this value. Okay, now it's not throwing any error. So first we are reading a thing into a string. Okay, a format called string abc, or it can be like a data string, and then we are converting this data string into our JSON format. Okay, using parse method present in the JSON. Okay, this is a class. So now here we can directly use the data of the value, which value we want to fetch. Okay, now it should bring the value test user to the Google. Let's run it. Okay, it is bringing a test user. Okay, now if we have something other way, for example, let's consider like another called web or website. Okay, and here we have another JSON, or you can call it as another map also. Okay, it is called as nested JSONs. Okay, now here we can have a name structure tech, and age 11 months. Okay, now if consider like we had first only one map. Okay, how we are accessing is like we have changed this data into JSON, and we call this a key, right? Name or password. So what should we do when we have a nested JSON? Okay, when we have a nested JSON, again we will be using the same concept. Okay, the moment if I fetch this value, what I have in my hand is another JSON file, right?
Yes.
So can I again access it with the keys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now I want to read the age and I want to send the keys into Google. So I'll read website. Okay, now will I get another JSON now here? Right? Yes. So let me bring the age from the from the website. So I'm using another key here. Okay, let me run it. Okay, so we will be able to get it. But at the same time, if you have a doubt like whether it really prints this value, like the second JSON, what we can do is we can write console.log. Okay, ignore the sending and opening Google. Let's run it. So here I have not see here also we get some data retrieval from the file, right?
Yes.
But why are we not using dot then? Any guess?
Sorry, why are we not using
Dot then, and then we are not resolving basically.
this is asynchronous. Is that is why?
Right. So till this particular line gets executed, nothing gets executed here in this code. Okay. So because of which we will not be using a then. But when we use a sync process, we have to use it.
Async process.
Sorry, when we use async process.
Okay.
So the difference is like whenever you see this keyword sync, okay, it is called synchronization. Okay, normal one. So till it completes, it will not give way to another commands. Okay, the moment if I remove it, it becomes asynchronous. Okay, so for asynchronous process, we have to provide two details. One is the file name, and the other one would be your, what is the format of this particular file.
Yes.
Okay, so which is UTF-8. Okay, this is the normal standard for writing our files. Okay, but if you are using any other file format, then you have to mention that particular file format only. Okay. Now, once we use it, we have to retrieve our data. Okay, so here it will not return anything, so we will not be having any data string. Okay, so it accepts another parameter called function and then error. Okay, what if the file says something or there is some issue? Okay, we will receive it in the error. And second one would be your data. Okay, so in case if file shows any error, it goes on the ERR part, and if everything is successful, the data will be stored in DATA data.
Okay.
Okay, the one thing is here it will not let the control to go out. Okay, so first it will try to execute this particular block, but at the same time, sorry, so if I have one more block, something for example a console log or something, okay, here what happens is like console log tries to execute first and this one will execute second, because it will start the reading. Okay, but at the same time it will not, the process will not wait for this particular file reading to complete. Okay, it will initiate the other operations. Okay.
Okay.
So here we have a data, and data is nothing but is a similar way only. Again, you have to parse it, parse the data into a string, sorry, into a JSON format or a map format, and you can print that particular values. Console.log, and we have two values right here, two JSONs. If I want to get the name from the nested one, so what is the thing we have to use here? What I need to print here? The data is, the total JSON file is stored on the data.
Data, website,
Website,
and then name.
and then key.
Name.
Okay. So everything should be in the form of string. Okay, for example, if I write something here, okay, let me write something like stars. So now what happens is this one will start first, okay, before this console log. And once it's initiated, then it will execute this one. Okay, so here you can consider, so this particular part, by this time itself, the total thing will be read. Okay, till that time, nothing inside gets executed. Okay, but that moment it starts here, it will go out of this particular block and it will start executing remaining parts. Okay, so now let's see, like this stars gets printed first or the website name gets printed first. So this is a synchronous process. Are you guys able to see like stars in the first and this thing in the second?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's close it. So always try to use whichever is worth for you. Like if you are just going with asynchronous process, just go with asynchronous process. But if you're going with a synchronous process, just make sure that you wantonly use that synchronous process. Otherwise, just you can go with asynchronous process itself. Okay. So now we will see like how to write them. So in similar way, like normally we try to read, right? So similar way you can write as well. What you have to do is the same way. For example, change it to just when commented start. Why are we not getting any suggestions? Okay, let's write it. Write file sync. Okay, we are trying to write the file. Now we have to pass the data. Okay, first we have to pass the file name. So sometimes it may not give suggestions, just you need to adjust with it. Okay, file name, then we have to provide the data to write. Okay, as I was telling earlier, so JSON format is nothing but your map format. Okay, so you have to store all the data in the form of map, and then you have to write it. Okay, so in case of JavaScript, the map is considered using a parenthesis. You call it parenthesis, right? Curly braces. Sorry, not parenthesis. Curly braces. So we have to have a key and then value. So at the same time, we have to store these values as well. For example, if we consider any map name like var equal to something. Okay, here we are storing this particular map in form of D. But with respect to TypeScript, we have map itself, explicit declaration. Okay, once we have a map, we have to convert this particular format into our string format. Okay, so whenever you think of writing anything into the file, you have to write it in the form of a strings. Okay, so I'm also going to do the same thing. So I'll consider this spec file, or let's go for the data files itself. Copy path. I'm going to write something in this path, and I'll name it as write example.json. Similarly, you change all the single slashes into double, because here we are giving absolute path. Okay, so the data to write here is the map file. Okay, we have the map we have created here, which is D. Okay, now let's run it and see whether it writes or not. So is there any mistake in that one? In this one, any mistake? I was telling like we have to change it to string. Yeah. So now we have object. Okay. So anything you want to write, it becomes object only by default if it is not compatible. So before writing the D, we have to change it into JSON.stringify. So whatever content you have, okay, if you put it with a stringify, it changes into a string. Okay, normally if you have heard about toString with respect to Java, it will try to convert everything into string. So I have deleted that file, and let's see this new file. So we got the key and value. Similarly, you can form multiple and nested files as well. Okay. At the same time, when you are using a protractor or any other tool to write something, okay, you just need to write it inside your promises. For example, here we have go into Google. Now I want to get the browser title and I want to print same thing into the file. Okay, for example, get title dot, then because it returns a promise, we have to resolve it, and then we have to write title. Okay, now we have a value in page title in the title variable. So if you want to write a map, what we can do is, Let's take this map itself.
Title.
Sample map. So here we have to provide like what we are going to write.
Title.
Example, title we are going to write into the file. Now on the right side, provide the value. Okay. Title, just another single thing.
Single quote.
Here we have a single quote. Yeah. Okay. Now we have all this stuff. Now we have to write it. But before that itself, we have to have our import statements ready, or a request statement with respect to JavaScript. Now here I am trying to write a sample map, but before writing, we have to convert into a string. Okay, that's why we are using the stringify. Now let's try to write it into title Json. Okay, let me run it now. So any guess how the write file method will look like? Now we are writing with write file sync, right?
It will be the format, everything like what you did for this reading, like that.
Yes. So every asynchronous process will have the same type of function formatting only. Okay.
Okay.
So here we have title Google. Okay. So for example, if you want to go more, something like URL also you want to fetch, and you have to store it. Okay, if you want to use another format, sorry, another another map, what you have to do is you have to copy the same map, just copy it, and now you set something like, change the map into something like URL map, and just have the URL alone here. Okay, here you can pass URL map. Here add a comma. Okay, otherwise you can add it here as well. Okay, it will not give much problem, but only thing is you make sure that everything has a comma separator and you are providing the right one. Okay, here I can provide like URL of Google. Okay, and one more thing is make sure that you don't have spaces in your keys. Okay, here I do not want to have a title, but I want to get something called URL, browser dot get current URL dot then, and then again you got the function. Okay, now move this total code into this particular then block. Here you can say like URL, bring the URL in here. Now we are writing it into a URL JSON. Okay, let me run it. So we should have our URL JSON. Okay, so we got our content. Now we have created a separate folder for storing your JSON files, right? So inside this data files, it's up to you guys to again micromanage them. Like again go for JSON files folder or Excel file folders, or you can ignore them as it is. Okay, and so like when you will be going for folders is different folders again inside the data files is like when you have like more than 10 JSON files, 10 Excel files or something like that. If you have, then you can go for folder structure inside the data files folder. But if you have like one or two JSON files and one or two Excel files, then no need for it. Okay.
Okay.
So it is something like, one step, if you are going deeper means it will take little more time for reading purpose. So we are just avoiding it, but you have to categorize all the things if you have more. Now we have written this code, but this doesn't seem like it has to be here, right? So what we have to do is we have to create a file.
Separate.
Okay. You can create it inside the utils, okay, or you can create a new folder inside the page object model framework called file utils dot lib dot ts. Okay, you can have something like this one, or you can have -lib dot ts. Oops, I'm sorry, actually I was trying to create folder. Okay, it is basically it is something like file utils. Okay, inside this one we will be writing your files, like what are the files you have. For example, if you have like for reading this JSON file, you will be writing JSON utils. Okay, you can remove this lib JSON utils.ts. Okay, here what you can write is like export public class let's write you might need public methods. Public method name could be something like read JSON data, or you can write read JSON file. Okay, if you want to provide async, you can provide async here. Okay, if you don't want, sorry, if you want to use sync, we can use the sync for asynchronous process. If you have a different methods for reading the file. Okay, so here what we will be writing is, so here we are writing, but here we are trying to read. Okay, so what was the thing we have to use? Require fs read the file, but
that should be inside the method.
You can put it outside actually, not inside. Okay, it is better to have the files outside, the import statements outside. Okay, fine. Okay, you can provide some readable name, JSON utils, or JSON read and write, or JSON file handling. Okay, so based on your convenience you name it, but the name should be legible, like if somebody reads it should be understandable. Okay, require you will put it outside and put it using var fs equal to, here you can give any name, something like you can give like file system itself. And now here you will be using different methods like file system dot read file sync. Now you may or may not have this particular what do you call file structure. Now, for example, this is one way. This method accepts nothing, and I can read it from this particular file. For example, if I want to read it from JSON data, I'll copy the path. I'll give the path inside this particular thing. And now what happens is like I'm just hard coding it. Okay. But sometimes what happens is like user will expect they want to provide their JSON file, right? Because you cannot be reading from the same file, because if he wants to use the same utility for his purpose, then you have to provide the capability that your method works based on his file also, right? So what we need to do?
We'll go optional will be.
Optional or valued default value?
We'll go with optional only.
So if he is not providing anything, let's take this path. And if he is providing, then take that path.
Okay.
Okay. Now he wants to read it, but what he wants to read it. So now you got a chance, like you just return the object. Okay. Something like, for example, so we have to use JSON stringify, right, to read actually as a map. So JSON dot parse you have to use for while reading. Now you can return this particular total object, okay, so that he can parse it and he can use it. Okay, for example, let's see. So here I am parsing and passing the value. If I want to use it from JSON spec, what I'll do is can I remove these lines? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's create an object for our JSON utils. JSON utils. This one. That's something like new JSON utils, but before that we have to write var some JData.
Yes.
Okay. Now you can use it JData of the value. For example, name. You can use this value and then you can print it or you can perform any kind of operations. Okay, let's run it and see whether this works or not.
We're returning the
right here, instead of a JD, we have to write something else. Actually, we have to call that particular method.
Yes.
ju dot read JSON file. Okay, so it will return the total file. For example, I'll start it in JD. Okay, now it will return the object. Previously, it was returning the object for JU.
JD, yes, fine.
So let's clear it and rerun. This time it should print name. Name is test user. Okay, it printed test user. Okay, here you can see, right?
Yeah.
So this is one way where the total object returns a particular value. Okay, but sometimes what happens is like rather than giving the total file, we can ask him to provide some parameter, right? Yes. You give me the key, I'll return you the value. Yes. Okay. Key in the form of string. Okay, but we shouldn't be forcing that guy to give a key. Okay, let's create a new method for this key itself.
You can go with method overloading, right? It is not applicable to
No, it's not a method overloading. I'm creating a different method.
Okay. No,
Okay.
we can go with that for this TypeScript also.
I didn't get you.
No, what we can do the method overloading in TypeScript also, right?
Actually, you cannot. Basically, it gives you the optional parameters, right?
Yes.
So you cannot perform the this overloading part. But overriding you can do, but not overloading. Okay, I'll merge it along with this one itself. For a moment's sake, I'll consider here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to read with a specific key. So now I want to return that particular key itself. Let's send the key here, right? Will it make sense? Like it will print whatever the key he is trying to get. Okay. Console.log. I'll again use this particular part, ju dot JSON file read with key. Now I have to pass two values, file name along with key. Okay, if I don't want to pass file name, we can ignore it. K equal to, we're trying to provide the value, but you know what happens is here, it's asking for provide me the mandatory value. Okay, so in this one, we can change the structure. First, accept the key, which is a mandatory one, and then it's up to you to provide the file path. Okay.
We are not giving question mark there.
We are not giving question mark because I want it as a mandatory key.
No, here for file path.
No, we are not giving, but we are giving a equal sign, right? So which means like we already assigned the value for it. So it for this method, it doesn't matter like whether user passes or not for this parameter, because the parameter already has a value.
Well,
if user passes, then it will take that value.
Yes, it will be overridden with that value.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's run it. Now here I want to pass the key. Okay, now I want to return this key. Okay, whatever I'm going to receive here to this method, I want to return the value for that key. So in the JSON spec, I'm going to use the key as something. Let's see here. Password. Okay, I want to fetch password value. Let's run it. So it should print a test user and then something like that. Mission 0. So here we are trying to, sorry, actually we have to put it at the end, the key. Okay, so after parsing only we can get the key. So that's why we got the error. So it prints test user and test password. Okay, so we have two different methods. So as we were talking, it doesn't, it actually provides the flexibility to combine these two methods into one. So how can we do it?
Key as optional.
Okay, so let's make key as an option. Okay. Now here we are returning the total object, right? So there could be two scenarios, like when sometimes user wants, a full object. For example, consider here we have nested object, right? If we have only this kind of, this kind of file. So you can accept the key and you can return it because it's a simple JSON file. But if we have something like nested like this one or more nested, then the issue comes like you have to accept more and more keys. Okay, in such cases, rather than passing this one, we can actually provide the total method as the map, so total data as a map, so that whatever you want, you can pick it. Right? Are you getting what I was trying to say?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now we want to pass this one when it is a simple. We want to pass this one when it is a complex. So shall we make if and else?
Okay.
For example, not even if and else, just if would be fine. Okay, whenever user passes a key, let's make it as question mark. So you can say like key. Okay, or key not equal to undefined or null. Okay, so whenever user is not providing the key, sorry, whenever you can consider in both ways. If the key is not null or not undefined, basically he provides the key. Okay, that time you can return the object with key, the whatever he wants. Okay, the remaining time you can pass the total object. Now what happens is like, now it will come to this particular method and it reads
Unreachable.
Yeah, we have unreachable code. Now it will be reachable. Okay, now we will have a key. If key is not undefined, or you can add one more parameter for not null. Okay, key is not undefined, not null, then you return the value only for that key. Okay, but whenever the key is null or undefined, okay, then return this one. You can ask like, we are not even writing this else block. How come you are saying like when it is not that this happens? If you have that question, it is
anyway, if the first condition is passed, right, if condition, then
if
it become an unreachable statement, right?
Yes, it will become an unreachable statement because the control returns here itself.
Yes.
And this is based on a condition. Okay. There is a chance that the key could be undefined.
Yes.
So that it will not enter this particular block. That's why it's not giving you the unreachable code error. Okay.
Okay.
Because it's based on a conditions only. For example, if I just comment this one and if I add one more return, now you can see this one is unreachable code. Because whatever it's going to be, this will return the control.
Okay.
But in case of if block, whenever there is a possibility of if, there is a possibility of else as well.
Okay.
Okay. At the same time, I cannot put this kind of thing also. Something like key
is not equal to
equal to
equal
to undefined. Okay. Here, compiler may not be able to judge like what we are doing, but we should be aware of it, because whatever happens, this return block will be executed. Okay, because whether it's a defined or undefined. So now, as of now, we will be considering like if it is undefined, if it is not equal to undefined, then execute with the key. If it is undefined, then don't execute the if block, just come out of the if block so that it comes here and it returns this one. Sanjay, any doubt, Sanjay?
No problem.
Okay. So let's go here, and now we do not have this one. The same file we have, I am passing the key, but think whether it takes it for a key or for a file name. Which one it takes?
I think file name.
Yes, it takes it for file name. Okay. So here we have to pass the file name. Okay, for example, we have to add one more parameter here. Okay, but let's add a relative path. Okay, so we have a conf file somewhere. Okay, so on conf file is present inside the POM. Okay, now let's change it. So this is conf file path. Okay, from the conf file we have to come out. Okay, which is POM folder. We are now out of POM folder, and now we have to come out of JS POM folder. Okay, now we are out of JS POM folder. Let's go here and see. Pro batch 1. Okay, this is our page object model, but everything here will be converted into JS file and stored in JS POM. Okay, inside this POM. Now we have a conf file here. We have to come one by one. Okay, let's see CMD. Now we have to go till where we have our normal POM and then files. Okay, so for single slash it will be the same folder. Okay, for double slash it will go up. Sorry, we have to provide cd dot dot. Okay, now it goes into JS POM. Okay, now again cd dot dot, it goes into protractor batch 1. Now we have POM folder here, if you can see it, right? Now from POM folder we have to go for POM folder, and inside POM folder we have to go for data files, and here we have our required data file, right?
Yes.
Json -data, which is similar to this one, cd dot dot slash dot dot slash. Now we are out of JS POM. Now again we have to go for POM slash, we have to go for data files. Okay, so this is the path. Again we have to open our JSON -data.json, right? Okay, so this is the file path. Now we have to copy. I'm just showcasing it, but you can get it from here itself. Okay, so is the right one? Okay, let's execute and we'll get to know it. Now here we are trying to access the password. Okay, password key we are trying to access, but I don't want to provide the password key, just I want to ignore. So let's see what's the output. So first we have test user, you can see it here, right? Okay, so let me minimize it.
Name we are reading.
So here we are passing name. Okay, for that purpose we received test user. Here we are not passing the key, right? So for that we have received the total object. Okay, so similarly we can write methods also inside your JSON-utils files. Okay, inside the class JSON-utils class. Any doubt, guys?
No one, but
No problem.
I'll have to go through it once again.
Yeah, definitely. So just the thing is, like, today what we have learned, important part is where we are going to put our data files and the data utility files, that file utility classes. Okay, this is one part of framework. Okay, remaining data reading is you can just require the particular file and then you can read it. JSON file is not that much complicated to read. Okay, so I guess that's all for the day. Okay. Okay, guys. So any other doubt other than this JSON file, yesterday's class or something like that?
No.
No, Pawan. I'm just started one more some framework. I started again because I didn't get time. Again started. I will check if I get any doubts.
Okay, sure. Tomorrow it will be like 9:45 only, the same time.
Okay, Pawan.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Pawan.